Now, I've opened up here on the show how one of my sisters just passed away from COVID-19. I love the fact that one of Biden's first things out the gate was acknowledging all the people that have died from the pandemic. We've had over 400,000 people in this country die. I don't think we really think about the what that represents. In my whole life, I've never seen a pandemic sweep through our country the way that this pandemic has. And I'll go on to say that Trump was at the gate with the gate open, saying, "Come on in," just like those racists at the Capitol, those terrorists. And so I just feel overjoyed that government as I know it, and I don't like government. I don't like big government. I don't like controlling government. Let me be clear, but government as I know it is back.
Trump was so bad that we all want to go and hug George Bush. Like Bush, when you see Bush on TV now, it's like, hey, I remember him. It's like you wanted to invite Bush to the cookout. That's how bad Trump is. That's terrible. We hated George Bush. Now you see Bush and Obama together. It's like, yeah, we like that. No, that's how bad Donald Trump
I'm gonna tell you why black people forgave Bush, because the minute we saw him sneak Michelle Obama sneaking him candy, that's when we was like, yo, if Michelle gonna give up her candy to Bush, I can trust him.
Yeah, I actually lived in DC when Bush was president, and I was there the night that Barack Obama, the first term, and I was one of those mobs of angry people who showed up to the White House to cuss out Bush. We stood outside till 5 o'clock in the morning, yelling songs at him and telling him to leave the White House. I now look back and think, oh, that was cute. I thought Bush would be the worst thing that happened in my life. And now I see what's happening in DC, and I think Trump has made us have a lot more gratitude for the folks that we do put in office, because we know how bad it can really, really get.
You guys allowed Trump to reveal the worst part of America. I knew that America was bad. I knew that America had potential to be selfish and bullies. We bullied the whole world for years. And I see how we killed the Indians and took their country, then hired, not hired, we went and stole to come over here and build it up, and then told everybody that we didn't belong here. So I've always known America to be selfish and aggressive and a bully. But what Trump has done is he's revealed the worst part of us as a nation. The fact that racists believe that they can go to the Capitol with nooses and hang the vice president with horns on their head and paint, and then go to the same Instagram that Trump has been banned from and ask us all for empathy and to help them not go to prison. I will say that I've learned a lot in the last 4 years. I've learned a lot more than I already knew in the last 4 years. But what I will say is that I hope that everybody watching knows that they have a place in government. You have to be involved in the process. You can't just look at the president that sits in the Oval Office. You got to be involved with your mayor. You got to be involved with your congressman or congresswoman, your city council members. You got to, the pest control. You better be involved in all forms of government, because if you don't, we're going to wake up and we're going to let another one slip in the house. And I know you Republicans you're nervous. You mad at Kamala. You mad at Stacey Abrams and all the other black women who are cleaning the house, because, baby, you look at us like maids. And so we're going to come in and sweep your shit up and get you the out.
But you know what? With that being said, maybe Trump was a necessary evil that this country needed, because if you look at the people that are now in the Senate and that are doing things around this country, they probably have never got these opportunities to help us people of color, because we weren't showing up to vote. And Trump was so terrible that the person that haven't voted for 50 years, I have people in my family haven't voted for decades. They went out there and voted and made their vote count. So salute to Trump for that. He was so that we actually shaped up and went out there and made our vote count.
He didn't do anything monumental for black people. And please don't bring up what he did for HBCUs, because listen, that literally gave them money to buy the black vote. Let's be very clear. He did nothing good to advance us as a people. And so I'm really glad that he's out. But it's some of us that I have an issue with today, because I went on Clubhouse. As you know, that's my favorite app. That I'm a Clubhouse crackhead. I went on the app today as I was preparing to come here, and I saw that there was a conversation congratulating Kamala Harris as the new vice president, because she's the first female and a female of color at that in the White House. Now, we all know Vogue recently came under fire. I think we got the pictures from the Vogue cover. This is the Vogue cover that they had where they shot her, and she looked very light-skinned. Okay, and we talked about this before on the show, where we talked about the lighting and all of that. Well, it's created a whole conversation around colorism now. There was a room on Clubhouse where it went from congratulating her and celebrating her to saying that she became the vice president because she's light-skinned. And I had an issue with that. So I started another room, called Colorism Conversations. Why is Kamala's skin tone a conversation? And so I first want to say before I open it up that white people started this conflict that we have in our community. But black people, in my opinion, black folks, all of you are continuing to make it a problem in our community. You allowed the hatred, you allowed the spiking of the punch to grow into a pandemic and now an epidemic within our community, where you force people to take sides based on their experience. You force people to feel some type of way based on pointing out other things. And I would say this: I went on Clubhouse, and shout out to Catherine Bruton, the vice president of BMI, and Tanika Ray and Amber Rose and other people that came into the room and helped moderate this conversation with strong women of color of different shades. One thing we all said was colorism is a real issue that we should unpack and continue to have evolving dialogue around. Blue, you know, you and I have talked about it on the side, wanting to really create a nice conversation around it. But we have to stop. We're not going to take the day that she's elected as vice president to separate our people over it, are we? Is that what we're doing?
Colorism is not about blackness. Anytime we pretend it's about blackness, we've already gotten it wrong. Colorism is about proximity to whiteness. It was created by white people as a disease that they spoon-fed to us to hate our own. So I completely agree that white people gave us this disease and we are cultivating it, right? And so we should be able to acknowledge that Kamala Harris, yes, she gets the benefit from light skin privilege, but that doesn't take away from the fact that she is completely qualified and she's probably going to do an amazing job cleaning up the mess that Donald D. Trump left for the rest of us. So that's one thing. You can acknowledge colorism, but still clap for a sis who went to HBCU who is going to fight the good fight on our behalf. So I completely agree with Jason on that. Where I think my opinion gets a little bit nuanced, though, is the fact that I had to cover the VP picking process very extensively at my day job. And I know for a fact that Stacey Abrams was actually the first person that they courted for this position. She was literally having dinner with Biden all the time. And it was very, very heavily speculated that she was going to be the VP nominee. Let's be honest, guys. Politics is as much about policy as it is about optics. How you look, especially as a black person, especially as a black woman, does matter in politics. They literally do polls where they see, are you visually going to be accepted by the community? So the fact that from the beginning it was supposed to be Stacey Abrams, and then right before it turned to Kamala Harris, there actually is a precedent that there was some optics issues there. It wasn't until I watched somebody drag Stacey Abrams, who's equally qualified, and then be relieved when a more visually appealing Kamala Harris was chosen, that I realized just how insidious this is. So I'm going to say this. People who think that there is something amiss with the optics are completely correct. The optics do matter. I think it's naive at best and intellectually dishonest at worst to pretend that the way that you look does not matter. Barack Obama and Kamala being mixed race, it matters to white people. It really does. Ask them yourselves. However, we can still clap for her. We can still clap for her and say she did a great job. She didn't create that. She did not create this dynamic. And so she shouldn't be blamed for it. Those are my two opinions.
I know. I think listen. I don't argue with anything what you just said. I think you're absolutely correct. I do think that there's a lot that plays into the decision, and what I really love is that you said the same thing that people said on Clubhouse. We can have both conversations at the same time. I think on the day though that she's elected as vice president,
I agree.
Her inauguration. Let's let her have her flowers for one day. We know the hashtag protect black women is a real thing for at least a lot of these rappers when it comes to Megan Thee Stallion. But I'm going to say it applies to Kamala. We have to protect this black woman. She's going to go through some of the worst scrutiny over the next 4 years. White people are going to tear her down. Foreign leaders who are used to dealing with men all the time are going to tear her down. And so now we gonna tear her down too. No, I think we should use this opportunity as a time where we can stop focus on light skin and dark skin. I even look at my own history of saying I like a light-skinned man. I didn't. That was my attraction. There are people who are attracted to Asians. I have a friend. All he wants to do is date Asian women. He's Filipino and black, And so I personally decided to no longer say I like a light-skinned man because I like dark-skinned men too. I just, in describing what I preferred, I said that. Now, what I will say is I've learned in my own experience, in my own journey, that my words have power. When we say something that just to me, it's just a preference that has repercussions, and it impacts people in different places. People come from different walks in life, and so I've learned how to be a little bit more responsible with what I project and put out. And it doesn't mean that I'm not uncensored or that I can't, have my interests, but I think being very clear about our intentions is important as we navigate through these colorist streets.
I agree, man. And the one thing I'm sick of seeing too is she black enough? How she grew up. She grew up in this neighborhood, but went to this school. Why does that matter? What does black enough mean? Like, what is the true definition of being black in this country? Like, I'm so disgusted with that, because if anything, if she does have an advantage where she grew up in a white neighborhood and she knows how to articulate with whites, why is that a bad thing? That somebody's in the office that can speak that language, I guess the white language, because she's not black enough, to fight for rights of all people. I'm trying to really understand this black enough talk, because that's another thing we do along with colorism. We try to level how black somebody is depending on how much struggle they had in their life. Is that what we are as black people, where you have to struggle a certain amount of time in your life to be considered black? What is up with that?
And the gag is with that is that there's some really dark-skinned black people who don't like us. And there's some really, really pale hoteps who love us. And so for me, I don't ask if you're black enough. I ask, are you pro-black?